Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Today we're talking all about taking your e-commerce or retail business and adding Amazon as a sales channel. Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where I, Selena Knight, share strategies, interview retail revolutionaries, and delve into the minds of e-commerce experts to help you grow a profitable, independent retail or e-commerce business. If you're stuck in a rut, or if you feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've overachieved all of the things that you've set out to and are wondering what to do next, or how do I even make this better? I know that you're going to love today's episode. If you're stuck in a rut, feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've achieved all of the things that you set out to and are wondering what next, or how do I even make this better, then I know that you're going to love today's episode. Hey there, welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. And I'm a little bit excited about this episode because I got a whole bunch of insider information. I mean, you have to use your positioning, right? And when you are lucky enough to have an expert on the show, it's much easier to get the message across when you've got an example. Now, if you've been following me for a little while, you'll know that I thought that business was going to slow down during this time, and it would be the perfect time for me to set up a bit of a case study e-commerce business. And what I say by case study is I made a decision to put a very small investment. So at the moment, I think we're sitting at about $1,500. I'm prepared to go up to $2,000, but $1,500 to see if I can create a full e-commerce brand on a budget. By implementing all the things that I teach, is it possible to build a brand for just $1,000 or $2,000? So to date, we are at the point where we are just waiting for manufacture to start. My spare bedroom is literally overflowing with all the bits and pieces because my sewing team here in Sydney, of course, have had to close down because of COVID. So the website is ready to go. All the bits and pieces are ready to go. We just have no products to sell. Now, we do have a fallback. I say we, it's just me doing this at the moment. We do have a fallback in the sense that if there is not going to be the chance that the businesses reopen in, say, the next 2 weeks, a friend of mine has offered to sew the samples for me. So that is a great option to make sure that at least we can get the photographs done and get them up on the website so we can start taking pre-orders. So I've been trying to fit in, just like a lot of you, building this e-commerce brand while I'm still working full-time in this current business. I still have clients. We're still doing agency services for customers. So like a lot of people, it's just fitting bits and pieces in, doing a bit of the website at nighttime, just start up like fitting this in wherever I possibly can. And I'm pretty impressed with what I've managed to achieve. As I said, the website is pretty much ready to go. All we need now is the photos. I've been popping some feelers out into the Greyhound groups. Have I said what the product is? If you're just listening to this podcast and you're thinking, well, it'll be great if you actually told us what you're going to sell. We are going to be selling Greyhound coats, but not just any Greyhound coat. We are going to be calling, the brand is called Posh Greys. So we are making fancy or posh coats for greyhounds and even branching out a little bit into travel beds. And I'm hoping to bring in proper beds as soon as I can. And this has been one of the big limitations is with a set budget, you have to go MVP, minimum viable product. What is your core offering and how are you going to market it? And if that takes off, then you can expand the range. So it's been really nice sort of getting back to my roots and seeing how different building an e-commerce business is now from scratch by myself than it was 10, 12, 15, 13, quite a few years ago, more than a decade ago. So I will keep you guys up to date with how that runs. But today's guest, Stephen Summers, is an Amazon expert and he has so much information to share. And I'll admit, like I said at the beginning, I peppered him with questions about my greyhound business. Well, not my greyhound business, my greyhound coat business. And it was really good to have actual examples. He pulled out some stats, and he at the end, make sure that you listen all the way to the end, because he gives you some amazing resources. Even if you're never going to use Amazon, he gives you some amazing resources that you can use to choose products for your website and to see what you should be marketing and when. So I'll keep you up to date with how Posh Greys is going. If you go to the website, it's not live yet because we're still waiting for the photos, and there's just a holding page there. So even though I'm peppering this into all the greyhound groups, we're still collecting emails. But if you want to check it out, I'll let you know when it goes live. But for now, let's hear all about how you can add Amazon as a sales channel to your retail and e-commerce business, which I think is especially pertinent right now because you should be in as many places as possible. So let's jump in. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Right now, you're probably thinking, how do I get the most amount of sales? Like, I just want to stay afloat. The current economic, I'm going to say turbulence. I'm not going to say crisis because a lot of people are making a lot of money, but the current economic turbulence is making people rethink all of the channels that they're using right now. So I have to admit, I've never talked a lot about Amazon, and honestly, just because I don't know a lot about it. However, I do buy a lot from it. So I thought now is the best time to get somebody on to talk to us about whether we should even be bothering about Amazon. And the best person to ask is someone who works with Amazon globally. So we're not going to be talking about just the US or just the UK or just Australia. We're going to be talking about the global Amazon platform. And to help us wade through all of that is Stephen Summers from Marketplace Superheroes. Now, Stephen, you and I just had a fantastic conversation before we went on air, all about how cool Amazon is. And let me ask you this. We just had, it's dinner time here in Australia. So we just had Uber Eats because current circumstances, trying not to get out if I don't have to. And as I was eating dinner, I was like, oh my gosh, Amazon is to retail what Uber Eats is to restaurants, because it's kind of like this necessary evil, right? Like Amazon, you can tell us about how much they take. I'm imagining they take a big chunk, but Uber Eats takes 30%. So, but restaurants need it. So tell me, do you agree with that statement? Amazon is to retail what Uber Eats is to restaurants. Feel free to borrow that.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great starting point. And you're right in many ways, because Uber Eats has become a brilliant distribution channel for restaurants, like you mentioned, to get their products to people. And Amazon has become a vital distribution channel for retailers all over the world to put their products through. And the really interesting thing today is that we have a lot of people listening who are already retailers, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's great so in this, I don't usually get to do shows like this, which is cool, whereby Amazon is just one of your vital distribution channels, but it's not your whole business. A lot of people I speak to, it's their whole business, right?
Wow.
So absolutely, yeah. So,
I can't even contemplate having everything on one platform. Like that just freaks me out.
Yeah, I mean, and again, when you're more of a savvy marketer, that makes sense, right? Because you want to be in multi-channel. You're in the brand business. You're not in the business of just selling products on the internet. But a lot of people starting out, especially in our community, have never had a business before. So like starting a retail store, there's massive barriers to entry for them to be able to do that. So starting on Amazon, it's a platform where they do a lot of the heavy lifting. Like they give you a lot of traffic, millions of people. They give you FBA for a lot of people. All our guys would use Fulfillment by Amazon, which we can certainly talk about, where Amazon will basically store your products and ship them for you. So there's just huge benefits to that. And we have a whole research process for those guys who just want to sell there. On the other hand, I have lots of people in my network who are very successful by adding Amazon in as a distribution channel. Good friend of mine, Ryan Margolin, he runs a company called Pro Hair Labs. They sell hair replacement products like things for like putting on hair pieces and stuff like that, right? They're a pretty successful business in the US. They also have an Irish distribution area as well. Ryan lives here. That's how I got to know him. And it's just interesting because they weren't on Amazon for many years. They just had their own selling into salons and stuff like that, their own website, etc. And then he got to know me and he decided to add Amazon into his business. and it's generated, millions of dollars a year in revenue for him.
Yay!
Millions
Mic
globally.
drop.
Yeah. He's actually become a vendor to Amazon now too. So he even sells directly to Amazon at this point in time. So I suppose for anybody listening who is a retailer today, yeah, like if you're wondering why would you add Amazon in as a distribution channel, a few reasons. Number one thing to consider is that like Amazon is not just, as you mentioned, .com or .co.uk or Australia, etc. I look at Amazon a couple of ways. The biggest and best markets, if you've got your own products specifically here, is Europe, because something called the EFN Europe that we'll get to, whereby you can send all your products just to one country, store it in Amazon's warehouse in one country, translate your listings, and all of a sudden you can sell to all the European countries on Amazon by having just one stock source, right? A lot of benefits to that.
Love that.
So that's good. And .com, right? That's obviously a humongous market. There's people trying to say, Amazon.com, Amazon's like saturated, which makes absolutely no sense, because right now, I think this number is going to change pretty dramatically with what's going on in the world at present. But just before this thing hit, 14% of retail-ish is e-commerce. It's still a bunch of retail is obviously physical in stores, right? So that's beginning to shift. But the thing you got to consider is, of the 14% of retail that's online, 50% of that is on Amazon.
No.
Yes. So Amazon, they account for basically 1 in every 2 sales on the internet right now. So if you're not adding in Amazon as a distribution channel for your products, you're really missing out on a lot of traffic, because Amazon's obviously become a search engine now as well for people, right? Whereby we go to Amazon to search for specific products. And because of that, what you're going to find is with your items, again, there's no guarantees that your items are just going to blow up on Amazon. But what you got to look at is, number one, are how many people are searching for on Amazon for my type of products. But then when you get your brand on there, what you're really doing is unlocking a whole other search engine, a whole other distribution network that even includes things like they'll do social retargeting for you. They're obviously buying a ton of AdWords as well, and all these things. So they're buying up so much ad space as well. You put your products on there, and yes, they take a commission. Their seller commission is about 15% of the sales price, and then they've got other things like pick and pack, etc. So it is absolutely up to the 30% range of your sales price that Amazon are taking. But again, you have to look at it and reframe it a totally different way, whereby you're not doing the day-to-day. You're simply shipping products to Amazon. They're storing it for you, and you're unlocking a huge distribution network. So I suppose that's a lot of different strands we can go into, but that's just to give kind of the lay of the land for everybody.
Okay, so I have a bunch of questions. The first one is, I get that Amazon works if you make your own product, because you quite often have the margin in there to be able to give 30% away. But if you are a current e-commerce or bricks and mortar business and you're reselling other people's products, you generally operate on, let's call it a 50% margin, just to make it easy. By the time you pay, and we'll call it 30%, by the time you add all those things in, is it worth your while to only earn 20% for all that effort to have to buy the inventory in, and whether you do fulfillment by Amazon or fulfillment by merchant, is it worth it for 20%? It
all depends, right? A few things on that. Like, number one, if you're only reselling, I think it's a great time to review that and consider adding in maybe some private label into your business. Number one, because the beautiful thing about you as a retailer is when you're reselling other people's products, you have the best data, because you can see what you're selling. You can see how much you're making. This is how my business partner, Robert Ricky, got started into e-commerce, right? In the first place, he was reselling other people's products in the UK to begin with, and was doing very well. It was in the consumer electronics accessories niche. So he was selling like TV stands, speaker stands. They were big distributors of those kinds of products for bigger brands. And basically he was selling all this stuff online on marketplaces like Amazon, on his own website. This is like 12 years ago now. And he said, there's certain things here I could be branding up myself, and I could be adding into my product line to make a better margin. I should consider this. So he started to do that. He started to private label his own TV wall mounts that he was already buying from someone. Obviously, he had to buy more inventory, but he already had the data. He knew how many of these things he could already sell. So to him, it was like, this is a no-brainer. People already trust me. They already know me. I put in my own brand with my own little name on it and stuff like that. I can put it into my store, physical, and into his. We used to wholesale products as well to people, put it into the wholesale business as well, and then put it online onto online marketplaces. So now all of a sudden he's getting better margins. He has to order more at the start, but he already knows his numbers. So that's just one thing for everybody to consider as your business as a whole anyway, because some people say things like, oh, well, I don't want to put all my stuff on Amazon because Amazon control it. If you're reselling other people's products, they control the inventory too. So you're always relying on somebody, right, in business. And that's just the way it is. So I suppose that's one thing to mention. But yeah, like, I mean, you bring up a great solid point. Like, I mean, if you're reselling somebody's products, the chances of you having enough margin to be able to do that globally, etc., it is unlikely. And I mean, I'm not gonna. I think even on your own e-commerce store, when you're driving your own traffic and stuff like that, that can work for sure because you're not paying the pick and pack charge, but you're still paying a pick and pack charge. It's just maybe it's not as visible to you because you're doing it yourself. And this is like the age old thing of like, well, it doesn't cost me anything. And it's like, well, it does. You're just not putting an economic value on it, right? So there's that too. So
I'm just going to stop you there for a second and say,
sure.
I worked with a client who was trying to decide whether they should get 3PL, so someone else to do their picking and packing. Yeah. And she said, I think it only cost me like $1 to ship something. So I made her break it down. I made her break it, like, to analyze how long it took the people to pick the order, to pack it, to wrap it, the sticker that went in the box, the bubble wrap, all the things. Yep. And it came out at something like $12. And she literally increased her profits the next week by moving to outsource that. And 100%. She freed up her own resources.
Yeah, we used to do it. We used to have our own 2 warehouses. We had 8 staff in there doing all our pick and packing for us. We didn't utilize things like Amazon FBA for a long time. When I started learning with Robert and working with him, again, there's a whole story there, which we'll not get into because we'll be here all day. But basically, he taught me everything I know. I know, and we're still business partners to this day. And the point anyway is that, yeah, we used to do all of that. And there's a few things there. Number one, if you don't have a good shipping rate with your courier, if you don't have a good shipping rate with your postal service, yeah, it's going to be very challenging for you to be successful. Because even with us, right, whenever we stole lots of different products, but some of them were small and light. A lot of retailers might sell small and light items too. Tricky thing with those is to get a good rate to track every parcel, it can be tricky. So we used to not be able to add in tracking to those small items because the margin wasn't there. So all of a sudden people were asking us, where's my item? We don't know. Can't tell you. So things like Amazon, all that goes out the window. 70% of our customer support back then was, where is my item? So we had two
so people full-time.
Yeah, we 2 people full-time on this. Had to go through it all, check it out. The amount of times we had to resend the product before the other one had arrived, and then both of them arrived and they wouldn't send back the other one, was huge. So that's why for us, like, we've been there. It's not like some of these internet, I'm an internet guy, but like some of these other internet guys who've never done, their own fulfillment. They just started selling on Amazon, and then they don't understand like what it's like to have a warehouse, what it's like to be in cold in the winter shipping out products. And I can tell everybody listening now, it was one night in particular, I'll never forget it. Robert and I we were re-engineering the business to move to Amazon and eBay and places like that. And basically, it was middle of winter. It was snowing. It was frosty. And I remember we had done all the work that day, just the 2 of us, because we got rid of everybody in the warehouse. We got rid of everything so that we could one day get to a place where we didn't need all these things. It was a weird time. And so we were doing all this work ourselves so we could turn it all around. And basically, Robert texted me at like 10:30 at night, just saying, I don't see any tracking numbers on this stuff yet. I've got a bad feeling. So we drove them to the warehouse, not middle of the night, but like 11 p.m., freezing cold, and all the products were still sitting there. Because we used to just leave them there and people would come get them. They'd all be there in 10 minutes kind of thing. So we used to have to go and collect his kids from school, and then we go home. So anyway, long story short, it's all sitting there, ice on it, frozen over. And that's whenever we were like, what are we doing? Like, why are we not using other services? So again, I'm not trying to paint a negative picture for anybody, because when you've got a successful retail store and you add in an online e-commerce arm, it's a great way to get more distribution. But yes, I would say considering private label and having private label products is what's going to help you expand your e-commerce channels more than anything. Because there's a company here in Wexford where I'm from. They're actually a big Irish company called Shaw's Department Stores. and they sell all different kinds of products. They're resellers, of course, but they're a big department store. And I used to work there years ago, and basically they came to me a while back, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna really move into e-commerce now," and all of that. And I was like, I don't think it's a good idea for you guys because you're really reselling other people's stuff. And all you're doing is you're stopping people from coming into your store, and you're trying to replace that by selling it online. Their customer base is a lot older, and they're used to coming into the store. So of course they just went all in and didn't listen to my advice. And they 6 months later, they stopped doing it. And I had said to them, like, now you could have gone the other way. Anybody listening today, this is a great way to go. Start building up your distribution channel online now in store, meaning like start collecting. I know you've been talking about email marketing recently and things like that. So start collecting emails, obviously getting people's consent. Start doing some more social media content and let people know about it when they're in store. Hey, we just did this really cool, funny video or whatever, right? That kind of thing. And whenever big occasions are coming up, put a little bit of effort into it. Like there's some local companies here doing a great job of that, local social media. Point is, like, start building the channel before you go all into it. And then whenever you do move into it, it's like people are used to you living online and offline. And maybe in time, your online arm becomes the main business, or maybe it's beautiful because they work together, and you're actually getting more of the shelf space in people's minds in both spots. Anyway, that's a little bit off topic. Just to say, I get it. And private label for me is a really good way to scale an Amazon channel or any e-commerce channel.
I agree with that. When we had our chain of stores, we worked that out really, really quickly, that there were, in our case, it was some consumable products. So we had baby products, and obviously babies go through lots of stuff.
Absolutely.
And we were like, if we actually just spoke to our suppliers and worked out a wholesale deal, and we bought things in 50-liter drums, or we bought 5,000 of something, and we came to an agreement, we could just put our label on it. And some of those things became our best selling products because people already loved us. So the idea of buying something that was branded with our brand just kind of gave them that warm, fuzzy feeling. So I am all up for not everything being private label, but just having those key high turnover goods that bring people back into the store or bring people back online under your own brand. And
for sure.
The other thing I was going to say is, I actually, and please tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't know this from experience, but I feel like it is really easy to get extra channels. And the reason I say that is because if people have been listening for the last couple of weeks, I just told you I'm starting a new e-commerce business, and Shopify wasn't around when I started my first e-commerce business. So
me neither.
I've decided to build a Shopify site from scratch, simply because now I could pay someone to do it, but I want to do it myself because I want to learn the intricacies. It's something I'm choosing to do. It's a bit of a pet project, a case study. And there's a button I can click to add my products to eBay. And there's a button I can click to add Amazon as a sales channel. And here in Australia to add, I think even Gumtree was one of them. And I was just like, really? Is it that easy? So tell me, is it that easy to get onto Amazon? Because I feel like it can't be just a click of a button. There's got to be more to it.
Yeah. It depends on the market that you're in. So certain markets, they're gated categories, right? So you have to go through, like beauty and stuff like that. You have to go through a gating process to open up the channel for you. But I mean, a lot of people here are established retailers, so that's not going to be much of an issue. It's just a little bit of a stumbling block, if you want to call it that. But it's really just a matter of showing them invoices and things like that to show you've got legit products. Because obviously in the beauty space, there could be a lot of people selling knocked off goods, or, you know, obviously if you're applying something to somebody's skin, etc., you have to make sure you have all the required certifications and stuff. Just things like that. But I mean, in the general categories, like if you're selling, say, I don't know, household storage products, for example, as we've sold a lot of those. I mean, there really is not very much to it. You just set up your account. Obviously, you have to provide all your company details and things like that to set up your Amazon account. And really, that's it. Like, I mean, there's people telling me they have problems setting up their Amazon account. And I'm like, I've never had a problem because I have all the required documentation. I have a bank account in the right name, like in the name of my company. So there's all things like that. You know, they're very standard. And a lot of people listening to this show, that's not going to be an issue. You're established business people. So Amazon, eBay, marketplaces like that, they're very easy to still open accounts. Now, the challenge is really going to be with Amazon, let's say you're doing FBM, meaning you're self-fulfilling your own products, or you're using a 3PL company that's not Amazon. So you're technically self-fulfilling your own products in Amazon's eyes. That's where the challenge actually is. And why is that a challenge? Well, Robert taught me a really valuable lesson years ago, right? And I'll share it with you guys. And he said, Stephen, I want you to understand something. When somebody places an order online, it's already late. From the minute they place the order, it's late, right? And that is how we see the world now. And Amazon have been able, I mean, if you look inside their warehouse, you can see why they've been able to systemize this to a point where like they'll get you products very quickly. Like, I mean, it's next day with Prime whenever things are normal over here.
2 hours in some big states in America.
Exactly right, because they're close to you. I mean, in the US as well, you can get same day as well, which is unbelievable. Very, very difficult for you and I to as a smaller e-commerce company or retail company to be able to imitate, right? Even the 3PL business will find that tricky. Some of them can do it, but it's tricky. Point anyway is that if you're not using Amazon, right, you have something called an ODR on Amazon, which is an order defect rate, which basically means like if someone's unhappy or the product wasn't something they liked or they complained or whatever, that can become what they call an order defect. So it wasn't done correctly, it's not right, stuff like that. When you're self-fulfilling, you see, you've got to keep that under 1%, right? Which is tricky because that's, I mean, damn near a perfect record of orders. Whereas when you use FBA, because Amazon, my 1-year-old's giving out downstairs, hopefully you can't hear that. But whenever Amazon are fulfilling it, you don't have that same issue as much because they don't blame you if something goes wrong with the delivery because they are doing the delivery, right?
They're accepting the risk.
Just to consider. Yeah, they're accepting that. And let's say somebody, let's say the courier left the product outside or something like that, and thing got broken, and Amazon fulfilled it. Well, somebody would give you a bad feedback there on something like that. Whereas if Amazon have delivered it, they'll just cancel that bad feedback because, oh, that's our fault. They'll cancel it and they'll put a thing saying Amazon basically takes responsibility for this because we delivered the goods. So that's another big benefit of FBA. Another big benefit of using Amazon's own fulfillment services is that you get the opportunity to sell to Prime customers. So obviously you can sell to someone, right? We're all Prime customers, absolutely. So you get if you're fulfilling yourself for using a 3PL company, like you can still sell to someone who has a Prime account. It's just that they can't obviously utilize that to get next day delivery, to get all the different benefits. So like you essentially look like Amazon and you feel like Amazon when you're using FBA. So Amazon will tell you themselves, like, it'll increase your sales by about 33% instantly, probably more now at this point in time, just by using Prime, or sorry, FBA, because you'll get the Prime customer access to them. That's a big consideration as well that you should be thinking about. You know, yeah.
I was just going to say, I just read. So what week are we in COVID? I don't know. 2, 3.
It depends what country you live in, really.
So here in Australia, I think we're in maybe the 2nd or 3rd week of lockdown. So, and we're going, I think we're going to put this live in the next week or so. So it's still very, very relevant. But I was just reading last week that Amazon were putting on 10,000 more staff.
100,000.
100,000. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was 10,000 when I read it. So 100,000. I don't know if that's
100,000. Yeah.
Is that a global number or is that just in the US?
That's the global number. Yeah. Global number, 100,000 people. Mm-hmm.
This 100% answers the question, and I did a little Facebook Live about this probably last week, the week before. Are people still buying? Now, we appreciate that people buy lots of staples on Amazon. So you can buy maybe your toilet paper. You certainly can't buy hand sanitizer at the moment, but people do buy grocery goods.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that a lot of those products are just stuff, you know. It's a new cushion for your lounge, or it's a new monitor because now you have to work from home, or a new desk, or a new piece of stationery. So I do think it's valid, but tell me, what are the biggest, because you've done this with a lot of people, what are the biggest roadblocks that people face, whether they're mental roadblocks or physical roadblocks, when it comes to actually branching out to Amazon? Because I haven't done it myself. And I think it's simply because I just think, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, like, no, it makes sense.
I don't know what I have to do. So therefore it becomes in the too hard basket.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. First thing I will tell you is that people are buying a lot right now. And the reason that they're buying a ton right now, of everything, not just your staples, is because they're stuck at home. And we have another business. It's a Shopify store of our own. We're selling fitness products and different things like that. We are selling fitness products like they're going out of fashion. It's unbelievable. And
does not surprise me, because
yeah.
I'm currently, like, I won't spin the computer around, but I'm currently using 2 cans of coconut cream as weights with my yoga mat because I don't have any. And I'm like, I refuse to not exercise. So I literally have, in front of my desk is my yoga mat, and there are 2 cans of coconut cream that I was using this morning.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, that's it. Like, so yeah, people are buying a lot right now in every different category. Now, we'll say just something real brief, and then I will answer your question just for anybody listening, is that Amazon did put a restriction, which is just almost lifted now, the products you could send into FBA during this time, because it was an emergency, right? It's never happened before. It's unprecedented. We all know that, right? It's just weird time. So they stopped you from being able to ship in. It's just been lifted at the moment. So more and more people can send in their normal products again, which is great. And so anyway, that's just a little aside for anybody listening to me saying, oh, he didn't cover that. They might have heard about that. So yes, and we have a freight company for anybody listening, just so you know, like, we have a freight company, warehouse in the US. It's 30,000 square feet. Got one in the UK. We actually have one in Australia now. Just opened in Brisbane not so long ago. So we understand on the ground what's going on. Anyway, the mental roadblocks, for sure. A lot of people, let's say you're a retailer, you're looking to move to Amazon, because a lot of people are in that situation. Yeah, like, it's like anything, learning something new, it can feel scary and all that kind of stuff. But really with Amazon, here's what I would say. Number one, you just get your Amazon account in place, which is really easy for you guys because you have all the required documentation. And honestly, for you, because you're just using it as a distribution channel, let's just say you got your own products to make it really easy. All you got to do is just add your product, add in your title, your bullet points, your description, your images, which you probably already have a lot of if you've got your own e-commerce store, right? And you put it on Amazon, and then you send in your goods to FBA. I would recommend that. If you don't, cool. It's like, in most countries, it's about $40 a month for your FBA account, which is nothing really.
Sorry, just to cut in, because I don't know the answer. Does that cover your space, or that's just the cost to have the account?
No, that's just the account. So how it works then is you'll get your Amazon account. It's like $40 a month in most countries. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have a US, like, it's changing. See, our accounts are so old on Amazon, right? Because we have them so long. We didn't have the separated, like, all our stuff separated. We have a European account, we have a North American account, stuff like that. Yep. Nowadays, Amazon have a global account, and you can send your products to each country and stuff like that. It's a lot easier. Yeah. So that's just something to say. I'm not going to get into like selling in Europe and stuff like that from a regulatory point of view. I mean, it's very simple and there's lots of options, but we're going to start getting into, complicated waters there, which I can get into, but it's quite complex. Although
we'll leave that one for another podcast.
Let's leave that, right? Let's just assume that you're just going to sell in Australia for now, for example, or the US, because it's very easy to sell in both of those areas with your Australian company, your PTY or whatever. I think it's PTYs in Australia, right?
We have PTY, but we have a lot of US listeners as well. So yeah, they would be an LLC.
Your LLC or whatever the case may be. Perfect. Yeah. So basically then you've opened your Amazon account, you're sending your goods into, you opened up you got FBA arranged in your account, and then basically Amazon just guides you through what to do. You'll just create an inward FBA order, what it's called. You'll pack everything up. They'll give you all your stickers. You'll use their preferred carrier in many cases, meaning they'll literally come collect the goods off you using their preferred carrier. They'll come to your warehouse, your store, your house, whatever. They'll collect your goods. You've got all your stickers on it. Goes into Amazon, into the warehouse that they'll tell you it needs to go to. So they'll tell you basically everything. And then, when they arrive in stock, it goes live, because you might have set your inventory to 0 because you don't want to merchant fulfill. And that's it. Like, you're now on Amazon, you're listed on there. And people will say, well, how do I get traffic to my products and things like that? A couple of things on that. Really depends on what you're selling, right? Because if you're selling something that's super competitive, and the way you can kind of get a gauge of this, anybody listening, is, let's say, think of the generic keyword of your product. So let's just say plastic shoebox.
No, let's say, because I may as well use you while I'm here, Greyhound coats.
I'm going to actually look on Amazon now.
Oh, can you see? There's nothing there. So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'll have a quick look. So great.
I mean, there might be more in the UK, but there was nothing in Australia.
I'm not going to look in the UK. I'm going to look in .com, right? Because it's the biggest market.
Okay.
We do a lot of our research in .com still. So there's actually 555 results for Greyhound coats
That's not
in.
very many in Amazon, is it?
No, it's
Oh,
good.
tell
You
me.
want that number? You want that number to be less than 1,000. So when you search something, I mean, I can show you now, but obviously, like listeners won't be able to hear it. But I'll just talk you through it. So anybody, so you can see right here, if you just go to Amazon.com, anybody listening, search Greyhound coat, you can see 555 results right now on Amazon.com, and these are all the jackets and coats that are available, right? So what? So you want that number right there, that 555 results that you're seeing. You want
Yep.
that to be less than 1,000, ideally. The second thing you can do, you guys can install a little tool called DS Amazon Quick View. It's right here. It's on Chrome. DS Amazon Quick View. It's free. Just
Yep.
install that, and it'll tell you what's called the BSR. See this number right here, 175,
Mm-hmm.
etc. That tells you essentially how popular those products are. So we, in our business, right, we look for products that are less than 30,000 because we're selling, we're really only on Amazon. We're using Amazon as our main business. But these ones right here, like these are obviously a lot higher than that, which basically means this one right here, this is the 175th best selling product in pet supplies. So what basically the long and short of it is that they're on Amazon.com. It's not like a humongous market, but also it's a lot of people like they could do a lot more with these different products and services, right? But I would say it's probably not a huge market on Amazon.com, and that's okay. You're not looking for it to be your main market, right?
So
Another,
I have a quick question for you. Sorry, I'm going to jump in because I'm totally taking this to my advantage with my Greyhound coat business. I
sure.
can tell you that a lot of those coats are just generic Chinese brands off Alibaba because I've done the
Yep.
research. So
Yep.
if you're watching the video, you can see this. If you're not, Stephen's showing us on Amazon that kind of the average price for the Greyhound coat is $20.99. Average-ish. There's a few that are a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
Now, in the current exchange rate, that's about $40 here in Australia. Now, my coats are a premium coat that are going to be in like the $100 Australian range.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
So that's my question is that completely out of the league of Amazon when you have something that is far and away above, like at a premium level?
I don't think so, because what you can do here is you can you can see what's going on Amazon. So you can see like Greyhound, right? And if you see on the video, let's just say you're typing into Amazon like Google, these are all they'll give you like the main things people search for. So right here, Greyhound coat, I just typed it in, that's why it's there.
Yep.
Gifts, collar, comb for cats, muzzle, dog coat, etc. Right? So let's say Greyhound dog coat. So now 580 results, it's a slightly different keyword. And we start to see similar products again that we just saw a minute ago. So while like all these are cheaper products, right, and yours are going to be higher priced, I would say like it's probably one of those things where you'll list it on Amazon, but whether you're going to get massive business off of Amazon, I'm not sure. But equally, it doesn't really matter because if you just list it there and you merchant fulfill it, doesn't cost you all that much money to do that, right? And you only really pay, okay, you pay for your Amazon account, your seller account, but I mean, like you don't have to pay for anything unless it sells. Now, if you look here, this is obviously really low price, but clearly, like these are the kinds of jackets that are doing business on Amazon. They're obviously
that one's number 65,000. That's really high.
It's doing a lot better. Yeah. Obviously, like, just what I like about what you're saying though is that you've got a niche, right? You're in Greyhounds. So this one here, they're all quite. They wouldn't be the biggest sellers in the world, but that's absolutely fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. Obviously, something like this, it's Burt's Bees, a much bigger brand. This is a really big thing. So like a conditioner for an animal or something like that. So I would say, looking at this, like, the demand for Greyhound coats is not huge on Amazon. That's okay. And also you're at a different price point as well to a lot of people, which is also good. But one thing is these guys are using what they call sponsored products on Amazon. So they're paying money for basically to advertise their product on Amazon right now. So you can do that. So for your Greyhound coat, let's say, that keyword or any of those what we call customer key phrases, you can basically just, you can pay money to obviously get in front of everybody else, like any PPC platform. Seems to me though that the Greyhound market on Amazon right now is just, number one, very small, and number two, it's the cheaper jackets are the ones that are mainly selling. And that's not to say your brand shouldn't be on Amazon, but I would say for you're going to get probably more of your traffic on somewhere like from somewhere like Google Shopping. I would say is better for you. So
yes.
I mean, I'd actually take a little look at that. So what you can do.
I was going to say, that's really interesting that you say that, because if people are sitting here thinking, what do I send in? because
Yeah.
I have, maybe I'm reselling other products, or I'm even looking at doing that private label. That DS Amazon Quick View that you said, it's really going to give you a way to target maybe even what products you private label, and
Yeah.
what do you send in, because I didn't know that existed. So maybe then we just send our cheaper coats in. We put our cheaper coats up, and then you
Yeah.
put maybe one of the more expensive one and see
Yeah.
what the traffic looks like.
And see, you've got an advantage, right, as well. Everybody as well listening today is that you guys are building a brand, right? That's what you're doing. You're using Amazon as distribution. Amazon's not your business. Our clients, Amazon's their business, right? They sell all over the world. They sell lots of different products, and they just sell on Amazon. And then some of them do obviously branch out to their own website over time and stuff like that, right? So that's just an important thing to say. So the idea is, like, if you pick up, like, let's say you're selling something for $100, right? Just for as an example. And let's just say typically we would make 30% of the sales price as our net profit before tax, after everything's been said and done, all expenses paid on Amazon, right? So $100 would translate into about $30 net profit before tax ish.
Yeah.
So then what I would say there is, like, well, if you're selling a jacket every other day, so you're selling 15 jackets a month on there, but you're making $30. I mean, it's not bad. In one country, you're selling $450 per month net profit worth of that jacket. It's not bad. And those kind of numbers that we're looking at, that's probably the amount of sales they're generating, one every other day, that kind of thing. They wouldn't be huge sellers. But again, like, if you look on somewhere like Google Shopping as well, so I was just having a little look there at Google Shopping. I'll share my screen as well just so everyone can see. I mean, again, a lot of the products on Google Shopping are these lower cost ones. So I think the key for you is going to be making certain that you obviously mention things like premium Greyhound jacket and stuff like that. And I think as well for you,
See,
the
now
likelihood.
you've got there $55. So that would be
Yep.
around the price point. And now that you're going down, I can
Okay.
see 55, 42, 48, 42. So
Yeah, but even a lot of these products are not, you know what I mean? Like, they're not, the images are just okay.
they're
Some
a
of
bit
these as well
naff.
are on
Yeah.
Etsy, right? Some of these are on, a lot of these are on Etsy actually, which is actually really interesting. So Etsy seems to be where a lot of people are where Google is pulling from. So the cool thing
Yes.
there is, again, when you have your own store that's very focused and niche down, you spend a lot of time with your SEO titles and stuff like that. You'll be able to obviously pay Google to get in front of a lot of these people. So I actually have no idea what the monthly search terms look like for Greyhound jackets. I'm sure you've already looked at that, but I'm assuming you've looked at Google Trends and stuff like that too, right?
So we use things like So we have we've got Ubersuggest. We use Answer the Public.
Yeah.
I don't use Google keyword search. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. So that would be the keyword planner.
Keyword planner. Yep.
Yeah. So just looking at this now myself. Yeah. I mean, Greyhound jackets is actually an interesting one, because you basically want on Google Trends, you want your number to be over 40 here. And a lot of these, 43 here, right? Look, and then you got 46. So this back in 2016. We're now in 2020, 73 back in just recently in March. So again, like, what I would say about this market is, it's like, it's a very, if you draw a line through the middle of the trend, it's just a very kind of stable market. Doesn't go mental, doesn't go down. So it's quite stable.
It is quite
And
seasonal too, as well, because
yeah, well, you can see that the spikes happen there around December time.
Winter.
Yeah. All winter, October, November, December are the big spikes. And of course, then if you want to look at that, then obviously around August time, August, September, there's very little. In the summer, I suppose the UK summer, Irish summer, not a lot going on in that market, but that's okay. Like, I mean, that's fine.
But here's the thing, right? That is winter in Australia. So what you're trying to say is, if you have that global, you called it, what was it? EFN?
So that's in
GFN.
Europe, the EFN. But again, I mean, if you got your products in multiple countries, that's always a good thing. I must actually look at Australia with that, just to see what it looks like. Okay, so it's not searched as much in Australia as the US. That's okay.
Try Greyhound coats.
Yeah, coats. Yeah, exactly.
Because it does matter what you type in when you're using these kind of tools.
There you go.
There you go. See, we call them coats. Look at that, 100.
And look, what you just said is right. Look, see, June, that's the big season in Australia. So what you're saying makes total sense. It's exactly right. And that's why, for me, going global, maybe not right away, but over time with your brand makes a ton of sense.
I think that is particularly important if you have something that is seasonal. And I'm thinking swimwear, outerwear, beach cover-ups, all those kinds of things. When you limit it to the market that you are in, if you are seasonal, like my Greyhound jackets, we are currently having a push to try and get them ready for June because we've looked at that,
Yep.
then why would you want to not sell for the rest of the year just because it's a little bit scary? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's so much
interesting.
easier now, honestly. I mean, it really is. Like whenever we started out, like years and years ago, like whenever we wanted to sell in the US, we had to like find a company who we could send our products to. They take them in, they get them off the container, all that kind of stuff. And we ran into all kinds of problems, like with demurrage is called. So when your products get stuck in the harbor, basically, and you can't get them out, the amount of like the sheer cost of that daily is frightening. So we've been through all that stuff. That's why we built a freight company to make. We basically help our sellers import their products specifically for Amazon. So, for example, let's say someone wants to sell their Greyhound jackets, right? And let's say they're ordering them from China, as an example. Well, they would come to us at Superhero Freight, and they would basically say, "Look, I want to send 2 cubic meters size of these products. That's very small. It's like a pallet, basically. I want to sell a pallet of these. I want to send them to America. I want to put them on your container." And so basically, we just have our own members' products inside our containers. We save people a ton of money, all that jazz. Point is, like, that's like one thing we brought in because we saw like global shipping can be tricky when you're private labeling or not private labeling. Doesn't really matter. You got to have good logistics partners. But then, at the end of the day, once you get it to a 3PL company, it's there, and really they do most of the heavy lifting for you. So I would say anybody listening, highly recommend you don't do your own fulfillment anyway, no matter what you're doing. Simply down to what you said earlier on, Selena, which was perfect. Like the idea that actually costs you more money
Yeah.
because you're not figuring in a lot of your costs. Are you buying your supplies at enough of a bulk to get your cost down, get your
Yes.
shipping costs right? It's a lot to consider. Whereas these companies, that's all they do.
Yeah. Like, we were looking at paying 46 cents for the box for the coats to come in.
Yeah.
And this is what you have to sit there and think. Now, I have a quick question. Speaking of boxes, I'm
Mhm.
trying to finagle ways that you can get repeat business out of Amazon. So let me ask you this. If, for example, I was to send my Greyhound coats off to Amazon pre-box, so in packaging, in that box, can I put my own advertising? Like, can I put something about a discount to come to my website? Not that I do discounts, but some sort of incentive to
No.
come to the
No is
website?
the answer. No is the answer. You can,
Ooh,
right? The reason for that is it's a gray area, but no is my answer. And I'll tell you why. Because Amazon have it in their terms of service, right? Do not get in the way of the Amazon sales process, right? Fair enough. So here's what you can do, and it's completely legitimate to do it. Is you can put in like a card, which is basically like a guarantee or a warranty card, and
yes.
they can register that on your website. That's something a lot of
Oh,
people do. We,
sneaky.
we
Love
don't
it.
do that. Yeah, we don't do it,
Yep.
right? Because we typically just, we don't, it's not something we're looking to do, right? But that's something you can do. For anybody listening as well, do not, and I repeat, do not use the information you get from Amazon, like the address of the customer and their phone number. You don't get their email, you get two of those pieces. There's people out there who like, mail merge all those people, send them direct mail. That's all against terms of service. It will get your Amazon account shut down. Don't call people and tell them to give you reviews. You will get your Amazon account shut down. There's a lot of things like that you got to be aware of. So you can look at the terms of service, prohibited seller activities. You can Google that and you can see it's very, very standard. Really, with Amazon, here's the mindset you got to have. It's another distribution channel. It's more sales. Are they all my customers? Not quite. But can I send like a warranty card in place? Yes. Will everybody fill that out? No. But that's okay. And so it's just another channel of sales and profit for you. But I wouldn't look at it as, I'm going to pull all the customers off of Amazon, because people will tell you that you should. From my advice though is just not to, because you will get that distribution channel shut down. It doesn't make sense. Like you can and again, I would say for you with this kind of a niche as well, like you're going to get so much more value as a whole in your business by creating good content and driving traffic to your site through social media. Maybe even building up an Instagram interest page around greyhounds would be a really good thing to do. Building a greyhound group on Facebook would be a really good thing to do, and things like that. You're going, because it's just a lovely niche. I don't know much about it, but all I can say is whenever I see a niche like that, it's good, because I know in Ireland here, for and maybe this is why you got into it, but in Ireland, greyhound racing is a huge subculture, massive passion, and like people are probably like you
Well, this is
Obsessed.
the opposite. This is the people who usually
Yeah,
aren't fans of greyhound racing. And so these dogs are all ex-racers who get
perfect.
new homes.
Yeah,
But
they're
they
in
are the
retirement.
most, they're in retirement, but they are
Yeah,
the most loving natured dogs you have ever met. They don't bark. They
yeah,
sleep for, like, they're the perfect dog. They sleep for 20 hours a day, but then they
yeah,
just want hugs. Like, they're just
yeah,
giant cats. And
yeah.
they're the most loving dogs. And the thing is, I guess it's probably like any breed, they become fanatical. And because
Mhm.
greyhounds don't have any fat, and they have so much personality that people want to reflect that personality in the coat. And here in Australia, we can only buy really boring fleece ones. Like, I want something fancy
Yeah,
for my dog. So,
I
like
like it.
most e-commerce businesses built from need,
Yeah,
or built
for
because I
sure.
couldn't find that thing in the market. So, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little fun thing for me to be doing right
You
now.
know, the big thing for you though as well, right, is that a lot of people go straight to paid traffic with all these things. But really what I would say for something like this, I'm a big Jay Abraham student and I have been all my life. And I would say with something like that, like I would almost guarantee you there is tons of Greyhound related interest sites and
Yes.
things like what you just said, X racing greyhounds. Because I know for a fact that they all have a retirement fund. They have to legally earn to have a
Yes.
retirement fund.
They have
So
that here too.
it's the same. So again, people have money in this market because they have a fund together. So again, like I would go and I'd find all those communities because I'm sure they're out there, and none of them are going to be really very good in the marketing side of things. So I'm not saying, you
Well, they're
can,
great for customer research, though. All those Facebook
yeah,
groups,
but they're going
great
to
for
be
customer
bullying to
research.
share. They're going to be bullying to share those products that you have because they're so passionate. So for me, I think like starting there, putting in that bit of sweat equity at the top with those groups, I would say you mightn't even need paid advertising for a while with stuff like that, which I think is great.
Yeah, yeah. But I hadn't actually thought about Amazon, but now you've got me thinking,
Yeah. Well,
because
again, and I would say maybe in time, if you add in more accessories and things like that, I would say you'll have even more joy on Amazon with stuff like that. Also, you might get ideas from Amazon. Like maybe there's a specific, I'm sure there is like a specific type of conditioner or wash or things like that for greyhounds. And like they're big with other dogs, but is there a greyhound one? I mean, there's probably tons and tons of products you could be, and you can see on Amazon what's working and get ideas there too.
I love that. I think my number one takeaway from you has been this DS Amazon Quick View. If nothing else, even if you don't go on to Amazon, to see what things are selling, because
There's
that
that. And
can, yep,
yeah, and the second thing, just to bear in mind, right? DS Amazon Quick View. You look at
yep.
any of my YouTube videos, I talk about stuff like that. The
Mhm.
second one is you search a keyword, how many results are coming up, right?
Oh, that
Because
was, yep.
if you, let's say you type in, we typed in Greyhound jacket, I think we typed in Greyhound coat,
Hmm.
and we saw 555 results, let's just say, right? It's a relatively short tail keyword. Whereas if I had typed in, you know, a green greyhound jacket, winter durable for greyhound, and I saw one result. Fair enough, it's super long tail. And then, whereas if I had typed in greyhound jacket and saw 10,000 results, it's too competitive,
It's
right?
too much,
Whereas
yeah.
whereas in that little thing with less than 1,000, that as well as your DS Amazon Quick View, they're two lovely research tools. You can have in mind they're free and they give you a quick snapshot of the market.
I just like them, as I said, even if you're not doing Amazon, to
Yeah,
look at maybe what you should be, and we always love the keyword planner. I always forget what it's called, to see what you should be marketing at any time. Because
mhm,
sometimes you get stuck in your market. You're like, oh, what am I going to market for April? How about
yeah,
just going in there and throwing a bunch of, like, looking at your point of sale? What do you normally sell? Throwing
yeah.
those terms into a keyword planner and go, oh, wow, 100 searches a day on greyhound jackets. Why are we not promoting this in April?
Exactly. And one other thing you can do on that too, you take your Greyhound jackets, for example, and then you search that and you click into some of the Greyhound jackets and you scroll down, you see customers also bought, and all of a sudden you can give yourself ideas for like accessories. What are people actually buying with this? Because you're literally they're telling you what people bought with this. Also, there's
Yeah.
another one down below, which is customers also searched for. So you're able to see what are other things people are searching for. You get more ideas for products from there.
I think that's like gold. That's like mic
It's a
drop
good
moment.
episode. I'm definitely going to share this with my audience because it's a very different episode, but I think my audience will really enjoy this too because it's just very practical and like, let's have a look, kind of thing.
We love practical. And I always love it if you can throw, this is why we don't come with set questions, because you never quite know where the
Yeah.
conversation's going to go. And sometimes it's like, yes, I threw in my greyhound jackets, but all these little tips that you've given to people. It's like, okay, even if I don't use Amazon, oh my gosh, I never thought, I mean, this is one of the tips that we share with our private clients, but to go to places like eBay and see what did people also buy. I mean,
for sure.
That is, people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for that market research, and it's there for free.
I know. Yeah. That's the thing, though. You know, I mean, people wouldn't believe that until they pay a couple of $100,000 and they get back those same results. You know, so I mean, all the information is out there, everybody. Like, it's all there. All you've got to do. It's like this quick analogy I'll give you before we finish up. But it's like, you imagine the jungle, right? And you imagine that there's two monkeys that are living in the jungle. They're loving life and all that. They're eating whatever, bananas and nuts and whatever else, right? And then they get put into a zoo and they're told this is the only time you can eat. So they get fed the same time every single day. And then they show up every day. They see they keep taking the food. Then they get put back into the jungle. And monkeys, in this example, because it's based on learned helplessness experiment, probably die. Why? Because they forgot that everything's in the jungle. They just were stuck in a zoo for too long and they just forgot that. And so for you watching today or listening today, people are the very same. All the information's out there. It's just people don't have the eyes, or they're not wearing the glasses to see what's actually out there. So look at bestseller ranks. Look at what are people actually buying. Because when you go to Amazon, you go to eBay, like you mentioned, or any of those sites, that's what people have bought. So you're not looking at like some random idea that you're trying to come up with. You're literally seeing this is what people are buying right now. And that's why it's so important. That's why we have all these rules for our research, so that we can see what's going on. So yeah, I mean, it's all there.
Do you know what, we're going to finish up in a second, but do you know what the analogy that I give is? Don't be crowdsourcing your answers on Facebook. So yes. I get so, I'm getting all ranty pants here, but I get so frustrated when people go, oh, I'm thinking of bringing in an XYZ. Would you buy it?
Yeah.
Are you my customer? Like, it doesn't matter if general Facebook land would buy it. The question you have to ask is that top 4% of your customers, would you buy my thing?
100%.
What do you want it to look like? So
look, I'll tell you, right? We have another little brand called Side Hustle Heroes. We teach people side hustles who are trying to raise money for their businesses and stuff. One of the side hustles that we teach, it's a premium program. There's lots of information out there on it that I give. It's about basically booking people onto podcasts, kind of like I'm on today with you, right? Mm-hmm. So people are always looking to get on the podcast. That's the little side hustle we teach. Point is, right, I told my dad about this and he'd be like, people actually pay for that? And like, so like people don't understand, like there's a whole world, like look at you, like you've built an amazing podcast. You get tons of guests on here. There's a whole world out there people aren't even aware of. So if you're asking your friends who aren't even aware that that greyhound racing exists, they'd be like, nah, I wouldn't buy that. You're like, you just say it because you're not my customer. So you can't ask your friends or family typically for feedback. It's one of the biggest pieces of advice that people give you, and I do not know why, because it's mental. It just doesn't make any sense, especially nowadays because of all the niches that are out there. Go and use your eyes and search greyhound jackets, greyhound coats in your one. Let's see, like go and search, I don't know, I'm just looking around my room. I can't even think of an example. There's my brain's fried.
Hair extensions.
Hair extensions, right? Or even like, red hair extensions or purple hair extensions. People even buy those. Look on Amazon. Oh, look, that's got a bestseller rank of 10,000 in beauty. Wow, it sells really well. It's less than 30,000. It's doing very well. So like, that's the way to do it. And I love you gave that tip. And I love that you focused on that as we finish up today, because that is vital information no matter what business you're in. Look for the data. It's out there.
I was going to say, where can people find you? I feel like you've given us like 6 different places that they can search for you for help. But if they are thinking, dude knows what he's talking about, whether it's the freight or the Amazon or the side hustle thing, where would be the best place to come and see what you do, see what you have on offer, and see if they want to hang out with you more?
Sure. I'll just give 2 because it's just the easiest way. You can go to marketplacesuperheroes.com. Make sure you put an E in heroes, by the way, because a lot of people leave that out. Or you can go over to YouTube. I highly recommend that, and search Marketplace Superheroes. We upload tons of videos, and there's loads of information on there you can watch for free. See if you like me. If you do and you like what we're talking about, great. There's always links there to check out training and stuff like that. They'd be the 2 places I go to.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I literally have filled like a whole page of notes from what you've had to say. I love practical podcasts where people can just But I've got to say, don't get overwhelmed, right? Just pick one thing that Stephen said that just went, and actually go on and work on that. Don't take all 50 of your pieces of advice. Just grab one.
That's it. Because there's so many listeners. We give so many ideas so that people can pick their one thing, right? So
pick your one thing.
But thank you so much. It's been I've really enjoyed chatting to you. It's been a real pleasure. So hopefully we'll get to do it again sometime.
Hopefully. We've got so many other things. I need to talk about this global thing in the Europe, which we'll talk about another time. Thanks so much, Stephen.
Thanks for your time.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selinaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selinaknight.com, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.